Hey moms, today's topic is about toddlers. We are going to be talking about toddler discipline, when toddlers pick up bad words, whenever they push back on you, and how to find their currency. So if you know a toddler, if you have a toddler, if you know someone that has a toddler, this episode is for you. So here we go.
Hello, moms, and welcome to Wire Talk. This week, we are going to be talking about something that is awfully close to me because this is the season of life that I am in right now, and it is toddler discipline. So I am excited to hear the nuggets of wisdom that, Mom, you have to say that I can bring into my life, because discipline is something that is always happening.
Yes.
And you think you figured it out, and then things change. So it'll be interesting to see what the questions are and to see how you answer them.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
I just think having a toddler is a tough stage of parenting,
Yes.
for sure. And, you're trying to mold this little person into someone that will be respectful and mindful and obey you and all the things. And they don't always want to participate in helping you figure it out. So it's just sort of hard.
Yeah, I also, when things are going on that's really tough with my kiddos, I'm like, I can't see any, it just feels like I'm having the same conversation over and over again.
Well, you do. You have the same battle over and over and again. But think about it this way with your toddlers. How many times can they watch the same movie over and over and over again? How many times do they want you to read the same book over and over and over again? So discipline is the same exact thing, repetition. Eventually, they will get it.
Yeah. And I remember, I think you said it in Mom Core, peace now? No.
Pain now equals peace later.
Yes. So I kind of have to pain now.
You're in the pain right now.
Peace later. Because I think it does, you do reap the reward at the older years.
Later on. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So, well, this is a fun topic for all of us. And, as the listeners of our amazing Wire Talk, they deserve to know who was the hardest toddler out of me, Kelsey, Taylor, and Abby. Which one?
Oh, that's a hard question. You know what? You all were different. Kelsey?
Wait, toddlers are different?
Oh.
Does it matter?
No,
okay,
you were all different and you all had your challenges. So we'll just go through. Kelsey was very strong-willed right out of the gate, very much wanting her way. And she was sort of like Harper, where she was smart and would look at you like you were stupid. Yeah. And that was real fun and challenging. I remember Greg one time called and said, how's your day going? And I said, it's not going well. I'm arguing with the 2-year-old. And I think she's winning. I mean, it just feels like I'm losing all arguments because she had some really good arguments, even at 2. You didn't really push back. You weren't strong-willed, but you whined a lot. And that was very irritating because it was just like, this constant in the background. I'm like, please stop, Emily, please stop.
That's a different kind of exhausting.
It is so exhausting. Yeah. And, I would try to help you, like, what do you want? What do you want? And the constant whine, it was just like, ask me in your big girl voice. Taylor was moody. Like, I never knew if he was going to be Jekyll or Hyde. Like, if he would wake up in a great mood and just so excited to be alive, or if he was just grumpy. I never knew what I was going to get with him. It was like, ooh, when I open the door today, what child am I going to get? And that was very difficult. Mm-hmm. And then Abby seemed easy until she hit about 4, and she got real sassy, just real sassy.
I remember you saying one time, it was like, well, I thought Abby was the easiest but then I realized she was the easiest because she got whatever she wanted.
She got whatever she wanted, not just for me, but all of y'all. She was sort of all of our little baby dolls.
Oh, 100. We were like, we just doted on her.
It was bad. Mm-hmm. Don't do that, parents. Don't do that. Don't dote on that baby. I know it's tempting.
Because they're the baby.
Because they're the baby and they're your last and all the fun things. But whoo, you're going to reap it later. It's true.
Well, this will be fun. I can't wait to get some good questions and learning some things myself too.
Yes, me too. Let's dive in.
All right, question 1. I have a toddler who I affectionately have nicknamed my little angry elf. Anytime I tell him to stop or not to do something, his initial response is screaming defiance. I am exhausted, in all caps, by it and also bewildered by it, and I'm also bewildered as to the best response. Do I ignore the screaming? Do I punish him for it? If I send him to his room for a time, the screaming continues and seems to escalate. How do I manage these situations in public?
Okay. Let's start with the last question first. How do you handle it in public? First off, you've got to train them in private. So if you want them to behave in public, you've got to be very consistent at home. And they have to know that you mean what you say. And whenever you say, hey, look at me, if you don't shape it up, we're going to be walking towards the car, and they know what that means, okay? That means they're going to get punished. So that's the best way, is to start at home on that. And then how you work with him is don't ever give in to his demands when he is screaming and all that. And I know it's so easy, because if you give in to him and give it to him, they're going to stop fussing or screaming or crying or whatever it is they're doing. But don't do it, because then it's just going to make your battle twice as hard the next go round. So you just tell him, I can't understand you when you're screaming. Stop screaming, and then I will answer you. And then at that point, after you've said that, if he keeps screaming, I would ignore him. I would just walk away. And if he keeps screaming, I would go put him in his crib, and then I would just shut the door. And then every few minutes, I would open the door and say, are you ready to calm down? Are you ready to tell me what you want without screaming? And if he's still screaming, and if he's in the crib, he's going to be okay.
Yeah, I don't know if she said crib, but
she didn't. She just said to his room.
Okay.
But if he's not, then that's a little bit more difficult. You can put him on the stairs, have him just sit there on the stair, or sit in a chair in the kitchen or whatever. Another thing I would say is, we can't scream. We can't scream just to get what we want. So I need you to ask me in a normal inside voice. I can hear your inside voice, not the other. The thing is he will learn that if he screams, then he gets what he wants. It's just positive reinforcement. So you just cannot give in to the screaming, because I know it's hard, but it's just going to make matters worse. It's sort of like you have to reinforce the good behavior, not the bad behavior. And once we celebrate the bad behavior by giving them what they want, then they're like, oh, this works. And they're just going to ramp it up.
Okay, well, so what's the one practical thing you would tell this mom to try to incorporate this week?
Don't allow the screaming to get to you. And I know that's super hard to do that, because it grates on all of our nerves. But tell yourself, this is just a form of manipulation. And I'm not going to allow the screaming to dictate what I do as a parent. And I know that's hard, but just try to tell yourself, he's just manipulating me, or she's just manipulating me, and I'm not going to allow that to happen today. Not today.
Not today. You can do it, Mama. You can do it.
That's right.
All right. Question 2. I have a 2-year-old with a potty mouth. I'm not sure where he picked it up, but he has a favorite swear word he's been throwing out, and it's obvious he likes the reaction it gets. What do I do?
Well, I would personally punish him for it. I would not laugh about it, because once you laugh, he thinks, oh, this is funny and I'm getting attention and I like this. So he keeps it up. So I would personally punish him for it. You can take away toys. You can put him in timeout, take away privileges like watching TV or going outside. Any of those things will work. But basically anything that will deter him from the bad language. So the bad language equals him having loss of privileges. And normally that will work.
Think twice before he says something.
Yes. But it's hard not to laugh.
Mm-hmm. What is one practical thing this mom needs to do this week when her little sailor lets it fly?
Yeah. Remember that it's not funny and it's not good. Instead of getting the attention from you laughing, just turn away and, punish him instead.
Is it like you say it, you get the punishment, or is it pretty instant?
Oh, I would do it instant.
Okay.
Like, we don't say that word. I told you we don't say that word.
Mm-hmm.
What did you do with Harper not to say gosh because she's locked and loaded on that's a bad word now.
Well, I just don't want her to say, oh, my God.
Mm-hmm.
And gosh is just one thing closest to
I
it.
know, but I'm saying whatever you said to her to get her from stop saying gosh has worked.
Oh.
Because she's constantly correcting
Anybody.
me on it.
Anybody. If you say gosh, you can't say gosh.
Oh, and so what did you do?
I think Harper also likes getting people in trouble. So, that helps for that.
Okay.
I just told her we didn't say it. And that for some reason, it just stuck with her, and we just try to avoid it because I just don't want it to lead to, oh my God, because that's not appropriate.
Right.
So, and I think Harper's like, I can do this. And she's like, I'm going to get you in trouble for it. So,
and she does. She gets Mimi in trouble about it all the time.
Yeah. Or anybody. I mean, restaurants, I'm like, this is embarrassing. But anyways.
It's funny.
Mm-hmm. Moving right along. Question 3. How do you teach your toddler to be quiet while you're saying grace at meal times? Do you just give them their meal?
No, I wouldn't give them. You're trying to train them.
Mm-hmm.
So what we would normally do is we would just, as we're praying, we would just stop and say, Emily, let's finish the prayer and then we can talk. And then we would just keep going.
I can fully relate to this question because this is my life. Because Grayson, once he gets his food, he wants to eat immediately. And, I kind of let it slide for a little bit. I'm like, he's 2.
Yeah.
It's cute.
Yeah, he's adorable.
He's adorable.
He is
adorable. But now he's 3 and it's not so adorable,
Right.
I think there's a pattern there. And so I think we stop praying and I tell Grayson, don't eat your food.
The other solution, I just thought about it right now when you said that, is don't give them their food until the prayer is said.
Oh.
Like hold the plate next to your plate. Like maybe have his plate on top of your plate. And then whenever you say amen, hand him his food.
Yeah.
It just came to me right now, guys.
Just in the moment.
It's just like instant. It's just like it's there.
I love it. So what's one practical thing you would say to this mom this week?
Make sure you're saying quick prayers. They don't need to be sermons, people. Just say the prayer and get it over with.
Get it over with. Let's do it. Let's
thank God. Long prayers are later in their lives, but not right now.
Not right now. This question, I can feel it because
you can relate.
She says strong red. That's my 4-year-old.
All caps.
Yes. Hi, my 4-year-old daughter is strong red. Is there any other kind? Maybe red blue. I feel like I constantly explain and enforce consequences, whether it's timeout, loss of toys, loss of privileges, or spanking. Nothing phases her. She gets so angry and hysteric when she's in trouble. I don't know how to calm her down. This can go on for a long time, 30 to 40 minutes. The littlest thing can set her off. I've tried to avoid the hysteria by speaking gently and trying to walk her through the problems, but nothing works. This disobedience and whining feels constant. Am I missing something? Do I just have to keep enduring the chaos? Thanks for what you do. I love your podcast and advice. So sweet.
Well, that is so sweet. And honestly, reds can be very challenging for sure. I mean, I think out of all the colors, they can be the most challenging, the earliest on, or they were for me. As soon as she starts to escalate, I would gather her up. I would set her in her room on the sofa in a chair just to help calm her down. And as you're walking and talking, I would just be calm. I would just stay calm because the thing about it is when anybody escalates to this type of behavior, you cannot reason with them. They're sort of like a drunk person. Like you cannot talk to a drunk person. They're not getting it. And why is that so funny?
I'm just comparing a 4-year-old to a drunk person. That's
funny.
Well,
I'm just saying they're just not listening. They're not getting it. So they're obviously not drunk.
I know that. It was just a funny comparison.
Oh, okay.
You'll remember that though. Like,
right.
I can't talk to you.
You're like a drunk person.
You're like a drunk person. Sorry. We'll talk when you're sane. Okay? We'll talk when you're sober. I'm just saying that will stick. The mom will remember that.
That's right. So you just got to keep in mind, I got to get her calmed down, which I know the mother's saying, yes, duh, Karen. I know that's what I'm asking you the question. But just say, sit here until you can gather yourself. I wouldn't say sit here until you can calm down because she may not be able to. And this is all part of self-soothing, and a child has to learn how to self-soothe themselves. Sort of like they have to self-soothe themselves to go to sleep. And if they wake up in the middle of the night, had to work themselves back into getting to sleep. This is something they have to sort of do on their own. But we have to give them the space to learn how to do it on their own. So sometimes just holding a child really tight and just saying, hey, take a breath. Let's calm down. Let's gather ourselves together. Just take a breath. Breathe with mommy kind of thing. Honestly, every mom has to figure out their own child. Because sometimes you hold a child real tight and they don't like it and they freak the heck out. And then they've gone like to the next level, like nuclear level. And you're like, whoa, that didn't work. So not everything I suggest is going to work for your child. You got to figure out what works for your child. And I don't make house calls. So just so we know, I don't go into people's homes and say, okay, Greg, they used to have that show, The Nanny.
Oh, yeah.
And Greg used to
911 Nanny.
You could do that. And I'm like, no.
Hard pass, Greg.
I'm not going to do that. But anyways, I would just say, like the child's name, say, hey, you have a choice. You can have, and they love choices. Reds love choices. Hey, you have a choice. We have 2 choices here. You can either have your snack and sit here and watch your show, or you can not have a snack and not watch your show and continue your meltdown in your room by yourself. That's up to you. I noticed you did that a lot when we were at Disney, and it was very effective, and it really worked. Do you want to walk a mom through one of your scenarios? Because Grayson was having a few meltdowns.
Oh, yes. So he had, well, okay, we'll talk about Harper. So we were in Disney last week, and Harper really wanted to do these rockets.
Yes.
And the line was really long. We needed to get in line for something else. It just wasn't going to happen. And she just started, I want to do the rockets. I want to do the rockets. I want to do the rockets. And I just got down on her level, which you always tell me is so important. And I just looked at her. I held her little hands and I just said, Harper, we have been able to do a lot of great things today. So this is your choice. You can choose to have a good attitude about everything. You can choose gratitude with everything else we've done this trip, or you can choose to be upset about the rockets and have a bad attitude. But I'm just letting you know, if you have a bad attitude moving forward, we are going to leave the park. And here's the thing, I was ready to leave the park. Like I wasn't gonna say it.
And
it's
not
also
do it.
Like 8:30 at night. So I mean, it wasn't like at 9 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I was really ready to leave the park.
You would have been like, let's go. We got to pack it up.
So,
Sorry.
But I was ready to commit to that. You know what I mean? But I did. She will get worked up. And with Harper, I just have to get down on her level. And it's so hard for me to stay calm because I sometimes just don't understand why she gets so upset about things. Because I'm agreeing. I'm like, just go with it. You didn't write it? We'll do it next time. I mean, we're a Disney family. We go quite a bit. Like, we'll do it next time. And so, but you just tell me all the time, like, you have to stay calm with her. And if you stay calm, that'll help her stay calm.
Absolutely. The more you escalate up with the red, the higher they're going to go.
And then with Grayson, he just turned 3, just for people who are want the ages. He just turned 3 and he woke up in the stroller and you were with him and he was like dead asleep. And he woke up and Mom was with him and I wasn't. And he just was scared. He didn't know where he was.
He looked at me and he says, "Where's Mom?" And I said, "Well, she's getting something to drink," and ballistics.
So, I just kind of had to let him cry it out because he was upset. He was still asleep.
His eyes were closed the whole time.
Yeah. So I just kind of had to just let him kind of wake up and cry, which was really embarrassing for me because it was just, he was like full on meltdown crying, not like kind of crying. And we left the little restaurant we were in and I just held him. He wants to be held, and I just said, it's okay. And then finally, once he woke up, I was like, Grayson, you have to calm down. And once you tell me what you want, we can try to do that because he was just unconsolable at that point. He was just mad. So,
well, he fell asleep in the car and then woke up in Animal Kingdom.
So
I'm sure he was like, we're in Africa,
Yeah.
like with the drums playing and everything. I'm sure he's like, where are we?
and mine wasn't there. Where's my mom?
Yeah,
so
it was bad.
It was a little overwhelming.
It was bad.
So what's one practical tip you would give this mom to help her little one with the meltdowns?
Well, you just got to keep in mind that when they're hysterical, they're not getting anything that you say. So you just got to figure out what's going to calm them down. Like you're not trying to solve the problem right then. You're just like, what is going to, sometimes walking outside with them calms them down. Sometimes, giving them some space calms them down. Sometimes holding them tight calms them down. But what is it that's going to help calm them down? And then don't give in to them whenever, just like the screaming, when they're pitching these fits, this hysterical, don't give them whatever it is that they want, because that's just going to reinforce the bad behavior.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, those are good answers.
Thank
I
you.
said, I can relate to all these questions.
I know. This is your podcast, Emily.
Yeah. All right. I'm wondering, question 5, I'm wondering about toddlers and their currency, as Karen likes to call it. I think it's hard to find a currency for toddlers. Am I right? Or do you have tips on how to do this? I realize it's a broad question, but I feel like it needs to be, as I have a toddler. I also work with a bunch of toddlers at church and classes, etc. Thanks for your help.
Yeah. I think, finding a child's currency is just basically finding out what they like. And some parents are like, they don't like anything. Well, that's not true. They do. They all like something, whether it's a special food, an activity, a TV show, several books. Maybe they just like for you to read to them. Maybe they have a special baby doll. Maybe they have a special blankie, whatever they like.
If it's going to Mimi's house.
If it's going to Mimi's house, if it's going to the park, if it's going whatever, you got to figure out what it is they like. That's their currency. So whenever they're not behaving, you say, do you want me to take away whatever it is their loved treasure is? And they will always say no. And you say, okay, then straighten up. And my sister, whenever y'all were little, she used to say, why do you always ask your kids that question? Why don't you just discipline them? She didn't have any kids at the time. And I just said, well, I like to give them a chance to choose wisely. And if they don't, then I will follow through with the consequence. But I don't like to start out just right out of the gate, go to your room, but I like to give y'all a choice of what you can do. And most of the time y'all chose wisely, but lots of times you didn't, and the consequences would follow. But I like to at least give you the choice.
Give us
but
the
that's
chance.
That's the currency. It's whatever they love, and you just got to watch them. You got to pay attention to them. Kelsey's kids loved snacks. That was their currency. Do you remember that especially when they were little?
Yeah.
Like they would sit there and not eat dinner, and she'd say, hey, you're not going to get a treat after dinner if you don't eat your dinner. And they would start gobbling it up because they wanted the treat. They ate their dinner to get the treat. Or if she would say, when they were going down for naps, if they were fussing, and she'd say, you're not going to get a snack when you wake up from your nap. And they would go down and go, they live for food. Sort of like me now in my stage of life. I don't know why food right now to me is so good.
Oh, I love it. It's so good.
I know, but whatever. So it could be something as simple as food or a show or whatever.
I also think it depends on the situation you're in.
100%.
Okay, I have a great example.
Give it to us.
Harper has been doing these things where she'll be like, if you, then I. And it's something that we're working on, because she'll be like, if you give me this, then I will be happy. If you give Grayson this snack, then I will go clean my room. It's very manipulative. And I've been telling her, I'm like, we are not doing that. That is not a sweetheart. That's ugly, because it's very do what I want and then I'll do what you want.
Right.
And
it's very conditional.
It's very, yes. And so we had just left getting Grayson's haircut, and Grayson had a meltdown. And I was very high strung because it was very stressful. And he couldn't go to your house because he acted the way he did. And Kelsey called me because she was going over to your house. And she said, I'll pick up Harper from your house and then she can go play at Mom's house. And I was like, great. Said, Harper, you can go play with Mom's Mimi's. She'll be so excited. And then she wanted something that Grayson had. It was like a toy or something. And she said, Mommy, if you give me Grayson's toy, then I will have a good attitude. And I was like, in that moment, that currency was going to Mimi's house.
100%.
Because she wanted to go to Mimi's house. And she is getting the special chance to go to Mimi's house without Grayson to go play with her cousins.
Which doesn't happen that much.
Which doesn't happen very often. And I told her very calmly, I just said, Harper, do you remember what I said the next time you said, if then you or this? And she goes, yeah. I said, then you're going to lose the consequence. She said, yeah. And I said, you don't get to go to Mimi's house right now. And she was devastated. And but the other day, I think it was in Disney, she says, I said, do you want to finish that sentence? And she goes, no, ma'am. I said,
that's right.
Because she knows.
She's learning.
She's learning. And trust me, we'll have the same conversation once again. It won't be a one and done.
Right.
We'll have the same conversation again.
That would be nice, but it doesn't work that way.
Yeah. So, you know.
Yeah.
So.
That's good. That's a good example. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Well, you know, like I said, this is my life.
Yeah.
All right, this is our last question. Question 6. My daughter is almost two. My daughter is almost 2, and lately she is kicking and hitting all the time. She responds well to discipline on other things really well, stops almost immediately, usually apologizes in her toddler way, but with hitting and especially kicking, she laughs. I've tried grabbing both hands, removing her from situations, encouraging gentle hands, popping the offending hand and foot, giving her reminders, telling her she's hurting me, and is still just belly laugh giggles. I think she truly thinks it's a game. What do I do? It's driving me bonkers. She otherwise responds well to correction, so I'm just confused on why she thinks this is a game.
Yeah. Well, maybe she thinks it is a game in her toddler mind by the way the mom is reacting. You know, when somebody hits me, I usually, my first reaction is, shocked, and maybe the face that the mom is making is sort of funny to a toddler, you know? Who knows? We'll give her the benefit of the doubt. So, you know how, cartoons, Taylor used to love to watch the old cartoons, like Roadrunner and Bugs Bunny, and the reaction of Roadrunner, the reaction of all those old cartoon characters, you know, Taylor would just laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh. And I was like, it's not that funny. But it was just their reaction, their eyes bulging out and all that. He would just think that was so funny. So maybe this child is like, the mom is like, you know, shock. And the child is like, belly laugh. Like, that's funny. So I think maybe, and the mom's going to have to practice this a little bit. This might be hard. But maybe just be like, get a stern face and no, you know, like that, just really harsh and no. And that's going to be hard to do because your first initial reaction is going to be shock and amazed because you're like, that really hurt. But try to put on your angry face, Mom. Practice it. That's what I would do. That's what I think has to be happening because she says she, disciplines and she says she's sorry and she feels bad about it. So it has to be something that's going on that mom's face. I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's my guess.
It's a good guess.
Is
that what your practical tip for this mom would be, though?
Yeah. Practice your angry face in the mirror. Can you do it? I have a hard time being having angry face. It's difficult.
Don't do that. That's hurt mommy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's it for today.
Oh, that was a fun one.
It was.
Although it's not a fun stage. People say all the time, oh, you're going to miss that stage of life. I never have ever missed the toddler stage.
Yeah.
Ever. No.
Well, there's good parts and bad parts to every stage.
There's the best parts. When they grab your little face and they say, I love you, Mommy. That's so sweet. God gives us those winks because otherwise he knows we'd throw in the towel and be like,
because it's hard.
It's hard. It's very hard. Yeah. But your hard work, pain now equals peace later.
Yes, absolutely. Well, mamas, thank you so much for joining us today. We're always glad to have you guys listening in or watching on YouTube. So thank you so much. And don't forget to send in the questions because without the questions, we won't have a show. Sure. So if you ever have questions, please just send them to info@birdsonawiremoms.com. And also this Wire Talk is just a small arm of the ministry of Birds on a Wire. If you have any questions or kind of want to dig into a little little bit more of what Birds on a Wire is, visit us at birdsonawiremoms.com. Thank you again for listening, and don't forget to like and subscribe so we can share this message and this podcast with other moms, because the whole mission for Birds on a Wire is to encourage and equip moms, and you guys liking and subscribing to YouTube or Spotify or Apple Podcasts allows us to further the reach of Birds on the Wire. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.